Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bluntly Yours. The author in me is really thrilled today, and I feel like I'm on home ground because with me in the studio is one of the country's leading literary agents. And what makes him even more special that he's my literary agent. Welcome, Suhail Mathur.
Thank you so much, Shuchi. Such an
Amazing glasses.
thank you so much. Well, I thought that since I am coming on your show and you are yourself so stylish as we can all see even today, one has to up the ante.
Yeah.
So yeah, just trying to figure out. अब देखिए आपकी तो natural beauty है तो आपको कुछ करना नहीं
ये
पड़ता.
आपकी भी naturally है.
but हमको ये glasses पहनने पड़ते हैं, matching clothes पहनने पड़ते हैं. So
But full
guys have
marks.
to do a lot more things.
So far on this show, I have to give you like the best dressed
Thank
award. If I had one, I would give it to you.
Thank
Thank you for making it today from so
Yes.
far away, battling the traffic and everything.
Absolutely, you'd call me, so I couldn't refuse that.
So, first things first, first question.
Yep.
Is India still reading books?
Oh, well, India is definitely reading books. India is definitely reading books. The question really is how many of one book are they reading? I think that's the issue. And, this question arises, and you would have heard a lot of times people say that now in India, to an extent, it is true as well, but they say that now in India there are more authors than readers, right? And of course, it is an ironic statement, but the point is that you have to look at it from both ways.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at a literary festival and we were having a discussion on the genesis of publishing. So if you look at it, say 15 years ago, before the advent of Amazon or Flipkart in India in a big way, there were predominantly just the 3 or 4 major publishing houses. So either you got published or you did not get published. There weren't even options otherwise
Right.
for one to get published. So that was that. So because at that point of time, you had authors who used to sell more because the competition was lesser.
Right.
But then there were a lot of people who actually did not get published because those were the options that one had. Now there are a lot of options in the market. There are a lot of publishers who are bringing out new talent, emerging talent, new stories. The problem now is that because there are so many publishing houses and each of them have their own set of authors, the market has gotten crowded. Because the market has gotten crowded, there are still readers for every book, but they are now spaced. So the point is that you will find some books will find 2,000 readers, some may find 500 readers, there are some which find less than 10 readers, there are some who will find more than 10,000. So there isn't any formula per se, because if you were to ask a publisher, and you're an author yourself, so you will definitely agree with this, that if you were to ask any publisher what are the 3 things that they're looking for in a manuscript before selection,
I would really want to know.
well, they would say that they want a book which has a good story, a book which has been written well, and a book that has the potential to sell a lot. So my point is that if these 3 parameters are the same, then either one book should be accepted by all publishers or should be rejected by all publishers, because the parameters are the same. You're judging it on the same way, but that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Why? Because individual tastes and preferences come into play. Secondly, the business plans of a publishing house come into play, which obviously the literary agents are privy to, because we have direct contacts with them, and author will not be privy to that. So those are the kind of challenges that one is facing. In fact, just last week there was a very prominent bookstore that had done an event. It was a get together, and it was a very lovely event, well curated, well thought of. But I had an inkling, with respect to how it would pan out, and that is precisely how it was. So it was basically a meeting point and a melting point of where authors, publishers, agents, readers come, interact, but predominantly a meeting ground for authors and their readers. And when I went over there, so they had a very good system where they were putting out the name badges of the people who were attending, and they were writing whether the person's an author or a reader or an agent, as the case may be. And as it turned out, which is what I was thinking it will be and hoping it wouldn't, was the fact that 80% of the crowd that was there was a lot of crowd. 80% of the crowd were authors.
Wow.
The people who were wearing the reader badge with just about 20%. So the point is that when you look at it, it shows a bleak picture.
Huh.
So what that shows is that there are a lot of people who have talent in India, which is why the 80% were the writers, 80% were the authors. So they have the creativity, they have the talent, they write well, and they've brought out books. But then they need equivalent support from the readers. I think that is what is something that needs to be enhanced, because I've been to stores, and generally there is a perception, which I'm sure you would have also heard, that even the Indian reader reads, but their preference is to read an international author.
Right.
So which I find odd. I've been to bookstores where someone would be buying a John
Now,
Green.
what is this bias against? I have so many questions right now, and I think we have jumped off the deep end right in
Yeah,
the
I
beginning.
mean that is
What the heck?
Yeah.
Well, what is this bias against Indian authors? There's this usual perception that anything written
Exactly.
by an Indian author would be substandard and not quite.
I think it's just a mental block.
Yeah.
I think it's a mental
because there's
block.
some really amazing Indian authors. Some of my
Absolutely.
contemporaries, I love reading
Absolutely.
them.
I personally feel that we as a nation have better authors than even the West.
Yes.
Some of the stories that we tell,
The depth of storytelling is
the
really
depth of storytelling, the layering of a story, the way they
Hmm.
write it, that is something that works. I think what happens is that in India, a section of readers, to also sound cool on social media,
Yeah.
will buy international authors. They may not read it, or they will read them also, but they'll say, oh, I read XYZ, which is what I was saying, that I went to a bookstore not recently, actually, a few years ago, and I saw that, there was a Khalid Hosseini book that was being purchased. There was a John Green book that was being purchased. On either side, they were like, and the center shelf, the entire shelf, was of Indian fiction, and not a single person was standing there.
There's a word
Except for
for
me.
it. It's like literary snobbery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this mindset needs to change, but I think, authors also need to change that mindset.
Yeah.
There was an author of mine, and he and I were having this conversation about, and this was like a while ago. So, this was somewhere in 2016. So you can imagine that now we are in 2025. It's been 9 years, but we're still at the same place, technically.
Correct.
That conversation was happening in 2016, and we're still having it here. And we were discussing that readers definitely need to support and all, and he was completely in agreement with it. And then he had an interview lined up with one of the papers. So it was about your favorite this, favorite that, favorite author, a book that you'd like to read, authors that are your favorite. So he finished that interview, and that interview got published. I read it, and he asked me how was the interview, and I told him that, look, it's a great interview, well done, but I have one thing to add. And he said, what? I said, look at your answers. When asked about your favorite author, it's an international name.
Yeah.
When they asked you 5 favorite authors, they were all international names. Book that you want to read is of a foreign author.
Yeah.
So, if you, my friend, are yourself endorsing international authors and not reading Indian authors
How
at
will
your
anyone
own
endorse
end, you have no right to crib about the fact that nobody is reading you.
Correct.
So the change also has to come from within. And again, a very recent example of today. So I was going to a bookstore in Gurgaon, which is unfortunately shutting down this Sunday. It's a very major chain, but one of their stores in Gurgaon is shutting down.
Oh.
And they had some discount, and also because I know the gentleman who owns the entire store, I told him that I would come over and buy a few books. And when I was about to leave, my mom said, go buy nice stuff, get some international bestsellers, this, that. And then she said, but I mean, I've said that to you, but I know you won't. And I said, yes, because I will go and I will buy Indian authors.
Yeah.
That is what I will do. It just comes very naturally to me. And it's not got anything to do with the fact that international authors are not writing well. Please go ahead and buy international authors as well. I mean, the fact that 2 of us are sitting over here, we are proponents of good literature and not merely Indian literature.
Correct.
Right? So if someone loves literature, they'll love it across languages if they can understand it.
Correct.
So please do so, but don't forsake your own countrymen who are writing And it's unfortunate that in India authors cannot make writing their whole and sole profession. There is a reason behind it, that we are all working and then we are writing.
I'm going to come to that also. But first
Sure.
things first, I want to ask you.
अब सेकंड थिंग हो गई है, फर्स्ट थिंग तो हो गया.
हाँ, फर्स्ट थिंग होगी,
अब
पर मेरा
बोलिए सेकंड थिंग सेकंड.
बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस एक साथ आ रहे हैं मेरे दिमाग में, मैं
बताइए
स्ट्रक्चर नहीं
बताइए.
कर पा रही
कोई
हूँ.
बात नहीं, we'll do it in any way.
You know,
Yeah, no worries.
when new authors talk to me,
Yeah.
a lot of them reach out to me on social media. Ki, I've written this book and I want to get it published.
Yeah.
Help me out. None of them know what a literary agent is. None of them think of a literary agent कि I should reach out to one. वो concept अभी I think हमारे country में उतना catch on हुआ नहीं.
Correct.
That they don't understand the role and the significance of one, and neither did I.
So I'll tell you what.
So,
I've tried to figure that out, and I think you're of course being very kind.
Yeah.
Shuchi's been very supportive, and we did a very successful book with her, which was published by Rupa Publications,
Yes,
and
yes.
now she's going to amaze you with one new book that she's doing, which is a different genre. So what it is,
I hope that
we'll
happens
keep that,
soon. Yes.
we'll keep that a mystery, but it's something that will blow your mind for sure. I think, Shuchi, we as a nation, as individuals, always want to save on cost.
Yeah.
If we feel that there is a step through which we can save on cost, we would do that in comparison to getting a better job done.
Correct.
It's not only true for the context in which you asked the question. Yesterday I was speaking to another author, and he was telling me that he had written a book and he asked this Bollywood personality to endorse it, and the Bollywood personality, after reading that, said that and he wanted the personality to give a foreword for it, and the personality, after reading, said that forget the foreword, let's do a movie on it. And he made the presentation, he showed it to the Bollywood personality. So I'm saying Bollywood personality because I don't want to disclose the gender right now. But yeah, that's for you to figure out. And the personality saw it, and then the personality went missing. Till 2 or 3 months later, the author got to know that the personality had organized a press conference. And over there, the personality said that, hey, this is my next movie based on this historical figure.
Oh.
So they had basically cut out the author who had brought the idea, brought the concept, and his book had already been published. So that's his version of what he told me, that I had a meeting and this is how it happened. And from what I know, there is still a legal case against the personality, and that is going on. So the point is that after I had a chat with him, both of us thought that this personality has a lot of fame, has a lot of power. Personality tries to champion the rights of people, from outside the industry also. So why would this personality do this? I mean, at the end of the day, they will have to hire a writer. They will have to hire a screenplay writer or a dialogue writer. So why not someone who's written that? Because and usually what happens is that in a historical, you can't really claim copyright because it's an actual event. But over here, the kind of research that this gentleman had done was apparently not available on any website.
Okay.
So there was something that was integral to his book. So as a result of which, the work on the film hasn't started. But the question is deep rooted. The question is why someone who has so much money would want to rob someone of content, of not even content, actually giving them their due, both in terms of acknowledging
Credit,
their work and then paying them. So it's just one person cut out. You saved some money. So I think that is,
and you'd be spending crores on the movie anyway.
correct. So I think at a much lower level is this mindset,
The rights of the author.
that we'll do this, and an author will probably spend 10 times the money on social media for something which would be a 5-minute interview or a
Correct.
10-minute interview with all the people on that thread praising how beautiful the host looks, rather than writing about the book. I'm just hoping that doesn't happen with our interview. But okay, so nonetheless, but actually those are the things that have happened, and there is no author saying that, hey, I did an interview with you, why did my book not sell? No, that's not there. But if you hire a literary agent, and a literary agent's primary job is to pitch it out to publishers and then try to get a book deal. You can try, because at the end of the day, the decision is being made by whom? The publisher. The publisher will make that decision when they've read the book. And well, you cannot put a gun to a publisher's head. You can, as a friend, as someone with whom you've collaborated, tell them that, these are the merits of a book. Please take it. This author brings a lot to the table. Most of the times it works. Sometimes it may not. Sometimes someone else may show, belief in that particular project. But authors may have a particular mindset. That, oh, mujhe to iske saath kaam karna hai. In fact, Shuchi, one of the very funny things is that, almost every author who calls me up says that, hey, I want to work with A, B, and C.
I did that.
But you've also worked with them.
Yes,
so you've been successful in that, and you also got your deal with one of them. So, okay, your case is different. But no, so see, there is no harm in doing so. Because what that shows is that you are aspirational. Being aspirational is absolutely correct. At my end, I have to be realistic. So I tell them that, look, my friend, we will definitely send it out to ABC. It's not that we don't have contacts. See, something that people fail to understand is that the most important work in this entire scheme of thing is creating the pitch note. How you pitch a book, how do you bring out the USP of the book. So a pitch note ideally takes us 2 to 2.5 hours to create. Now, once I've created that, it'll take me less than 10 seconds to change the email ID and send it across. So if I've done 99, and even there we don't need to write the full names, because the computer will auto-suggest. Because we've been working with these people. So if you've done 99% of the hard work, why will we not do the remaining 1% of sending it out? So what I tell them is that book to jayegi, but aap ye dekhiye that jaise aap mujhe bol rahe hain that I want to work with ABC, almost every author who comes to me says I want to work with ABC. But if that is the case, then A, B, and C should have been the only publishers in the industry today, right?
Tell me honestly.
And also one more thing, that if everyone wants to work with A, B, and C, then A, B, and C will decide who they want to work with.
Correct.
Because they're getting the options. Then they will see who's the best out of the lot. So I think my job is to be very honest, frank, realistic, and then do the best that every book can. Because a non-fiction will differ from a fiction. A celebrity fiction will differ from a regular author writing fiction. So, those are the kind of things that readers may not realize. But I think it's our job to tell. Also, I think gradually people are getting to know. I mean, I wouldn't say that they don't know, because we have now successfully worked on more than 1,500 books. So obviously there are people who know it, but yes, I would want more people to know about it. As you rightly mentioned, that the fact that people are reaching out to you means that more people want to know about it, or the younger generation who's the new breed of writers want to know about it. So I think that is where
also many publishers now don't accept unsolicited submissions.
Correct. Yes, I mean it's a mix right now. In the US, of course, it is 100% that you have to send it via a literary agent. In India, it is still a mixed bag. The problem really is that once you've made a submission to the publisher and the publisher has responded or even not responded, because these days no response is also a response technically, as you know, that they'll say that, okay, if you don't hear from us in 3 to 6 months, consider your script turned down. Then what happens is that if they come to us, we have to send it out to other publishers. Because the moment we send it over there, the publisher will come and say that, look, Suhail, this has already been sent to us and we've turned it down. And the reason they say that is because otherwise it's a never-ending process. Because then the author will say, no, I've made some change from the last time they said no. But if they say a no this time around, then the author will make further changes. So I find two problems with it. Firstly, if you are an author and you've written a story which you believe in, please do not change it for what somebody else has to say about it. Have the conviction in your writing, have the conviction in your story. At the end of the day, as you'll realize, any creative content, be it a movie, a song,
you have to stand
or a book,
by your idea.
100% acceptance या 100% rejection नहीं होने वाली है. There will always be someone who will find faults with Sholay. There will always be someone who will find points of appreciation in Ram Gopal Verma ki Aag also, right? So we have to understand that. Yes, the idea is to get maybe a majority of people to like it, and then learn from it. So even if someone mentions a shortcoming, you don't have to get demoralized, disheartened. Learn from it, probably use it. We all say life is a learning process, and you should incorporate it, but don't change it.
Because if you keep changing basis, everybody's feedback will become a khichdi.
Exactly.
Eventually, you'll dilute your idea so much.
So-
it just loses its whole.
You made a very good point right now by saying that if you hear everyone. So, the thing is that if I was to give my script out to 10
Yeah.
friends and I'll tell them, please give me your feedback.
Huh.
What happens if you view it from the point of the friend also is, and everyone can envisage this,
Huh.
that अगर आप कुछ criticism नहीं देंगे ना कि यार ये ठीक नहीं था, इसको करो, उस जने को लगेगा कि यार मेरा फीडबैक इज नॉट ऑफ मच वैल्यू. मैं तो ये बोल रहा हूँ वेरी गुड यार, वेरी गुड, बट कुछ मैं बोलूँ कि यार इसमें ये हो सकता था, यार मैंने पिक्चर बनाई ना, उसका एंड में ये ट्विस्ट होना चाहिए, उसकी लाइटिंग ठीक नहीं थी, ऑल दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, सो देन व्हाट विल हैपन इज, नाउ से इवन इफ those 10 people give one point each, when the author gets the points, he'll say मैंने तो यार कितनी गंदी किताब लिखी है, किसी को स्टार्टिंग में प्रॉब्लम है, किसी को मिडिल में प्रॉब्लम है, किसी को एंड में, बिकॉज 10 नेगेटिव्स आ जाएंगे. सो hear people, but have conviction in your writing. If you feel it's a logical point, then accept it, be open to that also, but don't change your viewpoint basis somebody else's. Is what I'd say. So the idea is to assist authors, to help authors, because many times publishing houses may even reject books without even reading them. You need to understand that if they've said within 3 months or 6 months, the kind of numbers that they get on a daily basis, they may not be able to read or reach that book, and the 3 months may be over. So technically the book is a no, but the author doesn't know.
That's so unfortunate and such a waste.
That is unfortunate and is a waste, but who gets to know that? Nobody gets to. I think some people in the trade, in the publishing space, have been honest to mention that, which is why they want to collaborate with literary agents, because a literary agent will do a follow-up. And you'll get to know that, okay, this book has been turned down, why it's been turned down, or sometimes
at least that gives the author some closure.
Exactly.
Right?
That is very important.
It's very important.
So the thing is that now I was at a publishing house and I told them that, look, there is this other publisher, and I really respect that publisher because he responds to me in like 5 minutes. So I send him a script, and if he likes it, he'll say, okay, we'll circle back in a week, or he'll say, we'll pass. But that's happening in a span of 2 minutes from the time I've sent the script out.
That's so refreshing though in that industry.
Yeah, so a lot of people may say that, अरे 2 minute में कैसे किताब पढ़ ली होगी? But my point is that person is an experienced hand at the trade. He knows the pulse of the market. So he'll read and he'll know that, okay, this is not working for us at this point in time. This has potential. Let me send it to one of my editors and then let's see how it works. So that is good. So I told that to this publisher and they said, oh, okay, actually we don't respond, because we feel that you may feel bad that a particular book has not been taken.
Exactly. We know at least this chapter is closed.
I said nobody feels bad. We all understand it's a creative process. आप नहीं लेंगे तो कोई दूसरा जना लेगा, वो मतलब मेरे कॉन्टैक्ट्स हैं, वो मैं करवा दूंगा. बट वो नहीं होता ना, तो ऑथर पूछता रहेगा उस पब्लिशर का क्या हुआ, उस पब्लिशर का क्या हुआ. सो even if you have a contract from A, but you're in your mind waiting for B, then you'll keep on waiting.
Correct.
So I think that needs closure. Now, one more thing that they've started doing is, which is better than not responding, is that, if you send out, say, X scripts to them, say supposing you send out 20 scripts, this thing. So they'll come back saying that, okay, these are the 8 that we like, which is good. So you know which ones they like, and automatically the others may or may not have made the cut, but then you know that these deals have been secured. So I think
that
a
makes sense.
more interactive approach is needed, and that
but
helps.
Honestly, does it really matter which publisher publishes your book? I know in the author's mind and even in mine, there is this whole thing that this is tier 1, this is tier 2, tier 3.
Correct.
But when a book goes out into the market, right, the outcome, the sales, and how it's been accepted by readers, does it really matter in the end?
I don't think so.
Doesn't?
I mean, see, at the end of the day, why people are looking at a bigger brand is A, for the brand value.
Yeah.
For the brand value, that जैसे मैंने भी अभी इस पॉडकास्ट पे बोला कि हमने तो शुचि के साथ बुक की है विद रूपा पब्लिकेशंस, राइट? So वो brand value है. Now the thing is that that helps. It may not necessarily help in the sale of the book.
Yeah.
But if I'm meeting a relative of mine and I tell them that, I have self-published my book. So they'll say that, oh, अच्छी नहीं हुई होगी, तभी पैसे देके
That is
छपवानी
something I
पड़ी.
will come to after
But
this.
but the thing is that
हाँ.
if I tell them that ABC has published my book,
हाँ.
then they'll be like, they'll still not buy it, but they'll be like, oh, must be a very good book. So that's the battle of perception, and that's where self-publishing loses the battle of perception. The content may be good,
Correct.
but it loses the battle of perception. That's one. Secondly, a lot of authors predominantly want to work with bigger brands because they put the books out in stores. And authors per se love to see their books in stores. I have and I understand that because I've also been an author, and my books have thankfully been in stores. In fact, my second book, which was published by Home Books International, they'd done a lovely job. They'd made huge cutouts of the book's cover and put it across.
They market really well.
Yeah. So the point is that I'm a realistic person because I've seen both sides of the spectrum as an author and as an agent. So the point is that your book being in a store is one thing. Your book actually selling in a store is another.
Yeah.
So that is where, because we were doing one celebrity book with one of India's topmost publishing houses, and the commissioning editor told me that, Suhail, please ask this person to promote the book a lot on Amazon. And I was like, okay, but he has a lot of reach and all. So she said, yeah, but majority of the sales happens on Amazon.
Yeah, does.
Books in stores are predominantly being kept for cataloging purposes. That, okay, people see this and say, okay, this is for 500 over here, or this is for 299 over here. Probably I'll go back on Amazon and I'll see that there's a 50 rupee discount or a 70 rupee discount, and I'll pick that up. So push the book online, push the book as much as you can, because the sale is going to happen there. So my point is, number one, that do not feel sad or disappointed or dejected if your publisher says that I'm going to sell it predominantly on online platforms only. Yes, we all love the fact that it should sell on both. But if it is being sold over there, your job is to just create that hype that people say that, okay, yeah, this looks like a good book, let me buy it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we need to see a sale. There's a very funny thing. An author I know, he'd gone to a bookstore and then he had put out a post saying that, hey, I'd gone to this store last year and my book was there, and I came back to the city, went, and even after a year, my book is still over there. And I asked him personally, I said, very good, but do you realize something? He said, what? I said, how many copies of your book were kept last year? He said, there was this one copy. He said, how many copies are kept now? He said, that one book is still there. So I said, which technically means that in an entire year, that one copy is not being sold.
Yeah.
And that gave him a realization that, okay, that is the hard reality.
Yeah.
So you'll probably get likes on a Facebook post saying that it's here, but would you want your book to be there for a year, or would you want to go to a store and say, sir, aapki book nahi hai, wo bik gayi? I mean, it's a catch-22. You have to see how it is,
But they don't restock the stores once
they will restock. Mostly they will, because at the end of the day, the stores also need to earn money. And I think a hard reality in today's day and age is that most of the stores in the country are not earning money by just selling books. So if you've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, that cafes have opened up inside bookstores.
Yes,
that has become a source of revenue. A major source of revenue for bookstores these days are the events that they do, the book launches that they do,
and all that.
The discussions that they do, because those things now are chargeable. The space is chargeable, and that is something that keeps a lot of stores afloat. Right? I just told you about a major store being shut down. Why is it being shut down? Because people aren't coming. I asked them. They said,
people like us, we're so attached to bookstores, smell, the feel.
It was very sad. It was very sad. And I remember I'd gone there, and there was a book launch that we had. One of our authors' books was being launched in 2022, and that was the first store of that company that I'd visited, and I still think it's my favorite. And to then go today, which is why I went today, because it was shutting down, so I thought I must honor that memory. And I went, and of course I had to meet you also thereafter. So I thought I'll do that, and it was sad, but I took a photograph with the staff with some books that I purchased. So do whatever you can. I went to another mall recently, just last week, where another book chain had opened their store. So the mall in itself is new, and it was a Sunday, and there were hardly any people in the mall. So bookstore में तो आप भूल ही जाइए, food court में ही 10 लोग बैठे हुए थे. So on a Sunday afternoon, okay. So I went and I spoke over there, and they said that, sir, yeah, the footfalls are very low. Aap please kuch boliye, events karwaiye so that people get to know about it.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we'll figure something out. There was another mall in Noida where till in the last 1 year there have been 3 stores that have shut down. One because the owner was shifting to Goa. Second because the partners had a problem. And one store which shut down because of low sales. That one store that shut down because of low sales was a bookstore. So it is what it is. I mean, we all may sit on, the comfort of our sofas, chairs, and say that it's very wrong. We should do this and that.
Yeah.
But
Eventually,
but
it's a business
but at the end
decision.
of the day, the person who's paying the rent
Of
knows
course.
how it is, and we as a community feel the need. But what we also need to internalize is that, are we buying our contemporaries books, or how many contemporaries are we buying? Which is why, the community that we have created via the book bakers, and we have a very robust community of
And
authors,
so, yeah, I've been a part of it, and
and they buy books, they support it, they come for launches. That's great. I mean, you joined that
yes,
day,
I
and the
did.
day you joined, someone
Yes,
from Pune,
somebody
an
bought my
author from
book, and I was
Pune,
like, wow, that's the kind of
purchased that.
support we all need.
Yeah, straight away, so I think those are the kind of things that you can try doing.
Yeah.
What level you will reach is not known, but you have to do that. And I think the Indian reader needs to support. See, we always blame the publisher. Arey, publisher fiction nahi le raha,
हाँ.
non-fiction कर रहे हैं, सबके सब. Fact है. What I would basically want is that publishers should be more open about it at forums like literary festivals. Because most of the times what happens is that the publishers say that, oh, we are looking at everything. Whereas we know the true picture.
Yeah.
But what happens is that the prospective author is thinking that, oh, ये तो सब लेते हैं. So मैंने comedy book लिखी है, comedy fiction, I have a chance. In reality, there may not be a chance at all.
But sometimes a publishers reply saying that we're not taking fiction, we don't
Yeah,
take short
exactly.
stories, we don't take poetry. But you see them publishing somebody's poetry collection, which is like not even.
So that I'll tell you.
Yeah. So what's the story behind?
Exactly.
Now let's get down to the dirty secrets of the
Absolutely.
publishing industry.
There are no dirty secrets here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very simple. There's just one line. It's a creative business. Yes,
Yeah.
it's creative, but it's also a business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, a publisher has to survive. Otherwise, what will happen is a publisher will do books, do good work, will publish them, but 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, we'll have to shut shop.
Right.
Or then revert or go to terms which may not be aligning with their original or initial vision. So I'll explain this. So what I was saying was that, firstly, that we do blame publishers, but the point is that publishers are not the decision makers. The reader is the decision maker. The reader is making a choice of not reading the Indian author, or not reading as many Indian authors, or not reading an Indian author as much.
Okay.
Various permutation combinations.
Got it.
So they are making that choice. The publisher is implementing it. That, oh, the sales figures are dropping. This is what the customer is interested in. Let's do this. They're implementing it. The literary agent and the author are following it. Or are the two parties who are affected by the decision making of the reader. So it's not necessarily the publisher, because if tomorrow poetry begins to sell in numbers, you will see everyone do it.
Yeah.
You will see everyone do it. So it's a commercial thing. With respect to your question about people saying that short stories are not taken or poetry is not taken, yes, the market is niche. I wouldn't say it is not being taken at all, but the market is niche. So when a lot of times people say that it's not being taken, they refer to maybe the fact that the bigger names in the trade are not taking it up, right? But there are people who are doing very good work in these fields. So as a literary agent, I think it's our job to figure out who these people are, firstly.
Right.
Shuchi, I think we are one of the very few literary agencies in the country now who take up fiction books as well. And how do I know that is because, there were a couple of occasions when authors reached out to me and asked me to represent their book. And I was aware that they had worked with another literary agency pretty successfully in the past.
Hmm.
So my first question to them was that, but aren't you working with so and so?
Hmm.
Because I, as a literary agent, have never and will never poach an author illegally, because I wouldn't like it if someone did it with me.
Yeah.
So unless you have had a formal closure with your earlier literary agency, or the time period has lapsed and you're free to do so, then I'll look into it, but not otherwise. Right? So then they said that, our agent said that fiction नहीं देखेंगे हम, जब आप नॉन फिक्शन लिख रहे हो तब आप भेज देना. So I don't take up those books, and I'll tell you why. Because for me, the book is not that important. For me, the author is important. Because a book is one. An author will write many. Right in the beginning, I said that you've written some amazing books, but now you've written a book which is different from your category.
Right.
Which shows your versatility.
Yeah.
So if someone is showing their versatility, if I'm your friend, if I'm your literary agent, it is my duty, responsibility to maybe apprise you of the market. But then say that, look, through thick and thin, we are together. Doesn't matter. I will figure out what it is. In this case, I see a lack of that. Which means that when you're writing the cream, you will give the book to a literary agent. When you're writing crumbs, you will give it to us. And cream and crumbs are not to be mistaken in terms of creativity. Just on terms of commerce. The author is putting equal hard work. Right? So that's that. So I think that's unfair. The second thing is that I feel that, of course, we have this group that we were talking about, and we give a lot of ideas over there. So it could be that someone takes up that idea and then uses it for their own purpose. So that doesn't work. And thirdly, the thing is that if non-fiction is selling, or if a celebrity book is selling, and you've sold it to a big publisher, the question eventually remains, well done. You were supposed to do it and you've done it. So well done. But has the book sold on merit? Or has the book sold on its core theme? Or has it sold on the basis of which celebrity wrote it?
Right.
So if the answer is any of the other two, barring the first one, then the book has sold because of those factors, and not per se because of the pitch that the agent may have made.
Correct.
Because, so and so has written it, let's take it up. So then what is the expertise of the literary agent? The expertise is that if you are finding a book that is difficult to sell, find out who is a publisher who will take up that book. So make contacts, figure out who that person is, and get your author a publishing deal with that publisher, because that publisher believes in your author.
Correct.
Rather than saying that, no, I'll not take it up. I mean, to each his own. I'm not commenting on that, but this is what I feel. That, this is how it is. You swim together, and if the water level rises, we'll wade through it. We'll not sink. We'll wade through it. But we'll do it together. I'll not say that, okay, the water is rising, I'm taking my boat, see you, tata, bye-bye. That I'm not going to do. So wo nahi hota hai. So it's important. But why some of these books do come out in the market still? So these books may have been commissioned by the publisher.
Okay.
So there was this publishing house, and to be honest, I could take their name, but it's okay.
We have not done any naming shaming on this episode.
No, there's no shaming. Yeah, I mean,
naming
it's all right. I mean, the point is that
industry में रहना है हमें.
Industry में रहना है तो है ही, but the point is that it's universal across.
Yeah.
So मैं A का नाम बोलूँ, B भी वही कर रहा है. So B offend ना हो जाए कि मेरा नाम क्यों नहीं दिया. A offend नहीं होगा कि मेरे बारे में क्यों बोला, B बोलेगा कि मेरे बारे में क्यों नहीं कहा. But no, so the point is that I'd sent a poetry collection which was of a very well-known poet, and the editor wrote back to me saying that, Suhail, we're not taking up poetry for now. It's got nothing to do with whether the book is good or bad. It's purely a commercial call.
Yeah.
Because poetry is not selling.
Yeah.
So the only kind of poetry books that we do is when we commission it. So we'll ask a famous lyricist maybe to write a book, or a famous bureaucrat or a famous politician who also writes poetry, for example, to do it. Because then the book is selling not only because of the poetry, but also because of the personality cult.
Personality cult.
So that's that. The other way is that, so there was this publisher who was not doing fiction, and then I saw a fiction book of theirs come out on a big scale, did well and all. So I was asking that, yaar aap log to kar nahi rahe ho fiction, how come you've taken up this? So they told us, they said that, yeah, I mean, the book was good, but many others are good, but that person had a budget of 4 to 5 lakh rupees for Amazon ads. So he was investing 4 to 5 lakh rupees on Amazon ads. Apart from that, they were taking a sizable number of copies for their own promotional purposes. So if the book is good, the author is putting in money, also purchasing copies, then it becomes a safer bet
Of course.
for a bigger name.
Yeah.
But one needs to also realize that why these big names ask for it is because their print runs are also higher. But I'll tell you a very interesting thing which I found both funny and sad. I was sitting with a publisher who was a commissioning editor at a major firm, and we were talking about a cookery book. And I spoke about this person who had spoken to recently, and he was not only a chef but also a TV presenter, and he had done shows on television, very successful. And I told the editor that, you know what, would you be interested in doing a book with this guy? And his first reaction was, yes, let's do it, yeah. He's a good guy, we'll do this. And then I started talking about another book. So he was scrolling his phone. He said, Acha, Suhail, one thing. I said, yeah, we'll not be able to do a book with him. I said, why? Yeah, he has only 16,000 followers on Instagram. So I was like, okay, that was a learning for me. He has only 16,000 followers on Instagram. So I said, so? He said, no, yeah, I mean, we need someone with at least 100K followers, that is needed. And that really gave me a thought that, one would assume that, if you're a major publisher, you'll be someone who will find talent and make them into a star. But here you're not creating stars, you're working with stars.
Yeah.
That is how it is. It's a vicious cycle. There is nothing right or wrong about it. Yes, as people in the literary industry, as literary agents, as someone who's supportive of authors, it feels disappointing because you can't expect a college kid to have 100K or someone who's doing a regular 9 to 5 job to have 100K.
And not
followers.
everybody is social media savvy also. Some people are just quietly creative.
Exactly. So that's that. But then these are the things that it happens. So I have realized it. I have told my authors. So sometimes when they say that, oh, marketing plan banana padega, I said, marketing plan banao yaar, बहुत simple सी चीज़ है. And I've broken it like this. I say that अगर आप 50 steps चलोगे ना अपने घर से, you'll reach your neighborhood park. But अगर आपको Mount Everest पहुंचना है, तो आपको 50 करोड़ steps चलने ही पड़ेंगे. जब आप वो कर लोगे ना, you will not say that मैंने 50 करोड़ steps चले. You will say मैं Mount Everest climb कर लिया मैंने. So it's as simple as that. These are the harsh realities. My job is to tell them the reality and then let them decide what they want to do.
True.
I've given them the ingredients for a chocolate bar and I've given them sugar. Technically, I mean the publisher has given it, but not me. But अब आप जितनी उसमें चीनी डालोगे उतने वो प्रोडक्ट मीठा बनेगा. वही बात है.
अच्छा, when you send a manuscript to a publisher, you said they look at 3 things.
They look at many things, but
but
ये 3 बोलने वाली चीजें होती हैं.
बोलने वाली चीजें. वो कौन सी चीजें जो नहीं बोल रहे हो?
नहीं तो बुक तो अच्छी होनी ही चाहिए. वो that's a given. मार्केटिंग प्लान बहुत अच्छा होना चाहिए. वो भी मैं बताऊंगा क्यों होना चाहिए. Because sometimes, people who are first time authors or authors who have been in the trade for 10-12 years when there wasn't that much emphasis on a plan, or certain people who are from an older generation and are not accustomed to it, they ask these questions. Okay, so that, and then the author bio also plays a very crucial role if it is a non-fiction book. I'll explain that too. So why marketing is important? Because see, the book has to be good, and you have to understand that the publisher will do whatever they are doing or supposed to do. They won't shy away from it just because an author has a good marketing plan. But the point is that if you have 10 good scripts in a month and you can choose only 4 to publish, and all 10 are good, how do you break it? अब publisher देखेगा कि चलो author अपने end पे कैसे market promote कर रहे हैं. What is he organizing a launch? Or is he getting an endorsement from someone? Does he have contacts in the papers? Is he taking certain copies to give to reviewers? Whatever. It could be many things.
Yeah.
And then it'll narrow down from 10 to 6. then they'll see the bios and the profiles, and then from 6 to 4. So that is how it happens. Uh, if you look at it from this perspective, it seems totally logical from a business point
Logical,
of view,
correct.
right? So I think I want to take this opportunity at your podcast to inform and educate people about the realities, because publishers are villainized, but they are not villains. They are also people who are part of the system and are getting affected by it. So we're all
It's a
pretty much in
business
the
decision at the end of the day.
exactly. And the other thing is that about the author bio. So I take up a book if the book is good, irrespective of how or who has, irrespective of who has written it.
Yeah.
Um, there is a mutual friend of ours who used to write romance erotica, and then wrote a military book.
Yeah, mutual friend, yeah.
Yes. So wrote a military book, and some of the publishers who used to otherwise be interested in her book did not show that much interest, and she reached
Yes.
out to me, and I asked her the same question, that hey, you are working with so and so why do you need a literary agent in the first place? So she said that, look, this is where I am, so assist
Yeah.
me. And then we worked, and we got her another publisher, new publisher, very good. I mean, new publisher as in different from her current publisher, but
Correct.
a very big publisher. They took the book up, and the book became a roaring success.
Yeah.
And then she did another book in the military space, and would you believe it? Such a happy story. We were able to sell that book to her original publisher, who
yeah,
had
I know.
initially been a little hesitant.
It's doing really well. I'm so happy
Yes.
for her.
So what a happy story this is. But what is important is that where I see my victory is not only in the point that I was able to sell the second book to the original publisher, but the fact that I was invested enough and believed in the book enough to take up the earlier one, which was a ho-hum scenario as far as publishers were concerned. I said that, look, this is a great book, I'll take it up and let's see where it reaches.
Yeah.
That's one. I also had an experience where an author of mine had written a book which was based on corruption in India. It was a lovely book, and thankfully when the book came out, it sold also well. It was successful. But there was this major publisher, very big publisher, who was interested in it, and they asked me for the full script and all. So one day I got a call from them, and they said, Suhail, the book is great, but we cannot take it up. I said, why? If the book is good, why don't you want to take it up? So they said, because the credentials of the author do not match with the subject matter that he's written on. So he is a regular government employee. Had he been someone in the anti-corruption bureau, or looking at, or was an income tax officer, then it makes sense for us to bring it out. So in layman parlance, it is to say that if I write a book on cricket, and say a cricketer writes a book on cricket, it could be that my book is as good as that of the cricketers, but obviously the public perception will be that, oh, so and so has written this, let me buy that first.
Yeah.
So that is what the publishers play on. I feel that they could be a little more supportive about that, because you can make stars then, because someone needs an entry point at that point. I mean, prior to Padmavati and Bajirao Mastani, Sanjay Leela Bansali used to make romance films.
Yeah.
I mean, these two are also romances, but they are historical romances.
Yes.
He had not made historical romances. I mean, Devdas was a period film, but it wasn't a historical with
romance.
swords and horses all around. But he was able to prove his versatility in this field and in this field. So I think that is what is needed in the publishing space also, because we can't curb.
So would you say that
creativity.
sometimes publishers make a wrong business decision because they're trying to play too safe?
They could definitely could, but I'll give you two examples. One from the literary field, one from the television and OTT field, because I, as you know, was working for 6 years with a very major general entertainment channel, and I was heading new show development and animation content for them across the world. So they had started an OTT vertical as well, and the OTT team used to sit in the same office as ours, same floor. So whenever, so my job predominantly involved producers, directors, and actors coming to me and pitching concepts. Okay, and we used to do some great work on that channel. And I say great work because we did no Saas Bahu show. It was about historicals, mythological, fantasy, animation, comedy. That is what we were looking at. So, very good space. So when they used to come and they used to see, oh, some board that this app is coming up and that app is coming up. So I used to give the contact of the person who was at the same place as me in the OTT vertical. Yeah, he was maybe a couple of years elder to me, but we were friends and all. So I started giving the numbers because invariably these producers asked. So one day I was just finishing my breakfast at the office. They had a nice canteen. I finished my breakfast and I was just coming out, and his work area was there, and he said, "Suhail," I said, "Yeah, भाई सुन, मेरा नंबर ना सबको मत दिया कर." I said, "क्यों?" मैं हर किसी से बात नहीं करता. Okay. So I said, "Okay, fine, no worries, I'll not give it." While I was going back, the first thought that hit my mind was that this gentleman is the wrong person for this job, because he's not hearing new ideas, new concepts. His work is to hear that. He is assuming that only the established hands in the industry will be able to come up with something path breaking, while it could also be that a new person, a young person, has a fresh idea, fresh thought. That's one. The second thing is, because he's not taking that call, that phone call, he will never ever know that that show could have been pitched to him. He'll probably sit and see that show on a rival OTT channel, which will be a big success, without knowing that he could have had that opportunity. So sometimes it's just the people who are there. As far as books are also concerned, in 2015, and I'm very proud to say this, that, you know, as far as the revolution of horror fiction or horror non-fiction in India is concerned, in the last 10 years, the Book Bakers has played a very predominant role in it. Whereas 80% of those big time authors or the books that have worked have been represented by us. But the first time that I did it, one of these publishers who took up the book eventually, but a different editor from that team took it. I spoke to one of them, and, you know, the lady said that, you know, Suhail, the book is good, but we're not very sure. We've never done horror, so we don't know how it'll do. And I said, exactly. Till such time you've not done it, how will you know how it'll do?
Yeah.
Take it up and see how it does.
Exactly.
And fortunately, someone in their team took it up. The book did well, and from there on till now, a lot of publishers have started taking up. So I think having the first mover, being the first mover, has its advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages are that a lot of people will reject or will show a lack of faith. But if you get that one break, then you have the free market to capitalize on. That happened with Amish also.
Yeah.
That happened with Amish. That happened with Chetan Bhagat as well.
True.
So before Chetan Bhagat became Chetan Bhagat, the most commercial, or one of the most commercial Indian authors, was probably, say, Miss Shobha Day.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Ruskin Bond, who wrote for children predominantly. But so these people were still the elite English authors that one would read.
Just unlocked the genre.
With Mr. Bhagat coming in, it just became mass market. So it became mass market because his books were sold for like 99 rupees, 150 rupees, something in that zone, you know, at that time. So they were easy to buy. They have
their critics, but then they have their takers also.
But the sales are happening, right? Yeah. So the point is that he became a game changer because of the first mover.
Yeah.
Similarly for Amish, you know, you've seen a lot of his interviews, and he will say that a lot of people rejected his book, turned down his book, first book. Yes, because it was the first of its kind.
Yeah.
But why that book became what it did was also because it was the first of its kind.
And
there
then
was no other book
was doing it.
There was no other book in that segment, and he was doing some fabulous marketing and promotion. So
True.
The initial struggle might be more, but eventually the hope is that you will make it, because horror made it, Mr. Bhagat made it, Amish made it. It's easy to say that, though in retrospect, while you're going through it, it's demoralizing, disheartening. But yeah, there's always a podcast.
What are the hot genres right now in India? What's
hot
working?
Genres. Non-fiction is working.
I know.
Non-fiction is working. So anything in non-fiction, politics, crime, self-help, cinema, sports, mind, body, spirit,
चलो अब नॉन
military,
फिक्शन लिखती हूँ मैं.
all those things are working. They have a greater receptivity, so to say.
हाँ.
See,
Let me try
अगर
my
book
hand
मैं
on
लूंगा
them.
तो publish तो मैं करवा ही दूंगा. That is a
ठीक
given,
है.
right? But if you're asking, these are the things that are things that publishers are predominantly looking at.
Last
now.
question, and a very difficult one. Is it possible to make a living as an author in India?
हाँ, ये the crux of it was the last two words, in India.
हाँ, इसीलिए मैंने ऐड किया हो.
Correct. So see, you can make a living purely as an author, but through other sources.
Such as,
So,
ये थोड़ा लंबा वाला आंसर
ये
दे
थोड़ा
दो.
लंबा
ये
मैं आपको
मतलब
भी-
ये क्वेश्चन मेरे लिए ही है.
हाँ, मैं आपको बहुत practical ways में बताता हूँ इसका आंसर. We'll do the maths behind it,
हाँ.
and so that everyone gets to know. So now, there was a time when people used to say that you sell 10,000 copies and it becomes a national bestseller. Then with more books coming in, 5,000 became that number. Then it became a bestseller at 2,000. Nowadays, it becomes an Amazon bestseller much faster because on the online sales. So people ask me that, what is a bestseller? What is a bestseller? So I say, जिस बुक की सेल के साथ आपका पब्लिशर खुश है ना, वो बेस्ट सेलर है उस बुक के लिए. And I'll explain it. There is a publisher who's brought out 1,100 copies of a book. And that book has sold 1,500 books. Is it a bestseller? That's the question. Is it a bestseller? Because they're in the second edition. There is another author who's sold 2,700 copies of his book. But his publisher brought out 3,000 copies. Is that a bestseller? What is a bestseller out of these two? One has sold more copies, but lesser than the ones that were published. One has sold lesser, but more than what was initially published. That's one. Secondly, someone is writing fiction. Someone is writing romance. Someone is writing mythology. Okay, the romance book is priced at 200. The mythology book is priced at 400. Okay. That romance title sells 6 copies. Okay. The mythology book sells 4 copies, which is doing better business. One has sold 6 copies and has earned a revenue of 1,200 in total. The other has sold 4 copies and has done a revenue of 1,600 in total. What works? So it depends on book to book. It depends on publisher to publisher. If you these days, a lot of publishers bring out, say, 1,100 copies in the first print. So if you've sold around 1,000, 1,100, it's good because either you've finished your first print or you're about to finish your first print. Now, since we've established that 1,000 is decent and 2,000 is very good, let's take 3,000 as a number. Let's say, supposing a book has sold 3,000. Sometimes 3,000 might be the lifetime collection of a book. I mean, these days there are books some books unfortunately don't even reach double digits. Okay, but say 3,000, optimal scenario, 3,000 copies. The book is priced at 300. And the royalties vary on a paperback from 7 to 10%. Let's take the best. Let's take 10%. So on every book you're making how much? 30 rupees.
तो राइटर नहीं बनती ना.
नहीं, मैं बता देता हूँ आपको. देखिए, 300 रुपीज की बुक है, उसका 10% आपको मिल रहा है. तो 30 रुपीज मिल रहे हैं आपको. ठीक है, 30 रुपीज मिल रहे हैं. अब आपकी 3,000 कॉपी बिक गई. ठीक है, तो वो भी एक मैंने बहुत हाई नंबर लिया है. 30 into 3,000 is 90,000. अब आपने अगर एक साल में 90,000 रुपीज कमाया है, तो आप हर महीने 10,000 रुपए भी नहीं कमा रहे. बट आपने वो मनी एक साल में नहीं कमाई होगी. वो मनी आपने 2 साल में कमाई होगी, क्योंकि एक साल आपने उसको लिखने में भी लगाया होगा. सो आपने एक साल में 45,000 रुपीज कमाए. सो बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन के आसपास है कहीं उस हिसाब से. सो इन एन ऑप्टिमल सिनेरियो दिस इज द सिचुएशन. यू नो, ऑफ कोर्स यू विल हैव ब्रेकअवे हिट्स एंड ऑल दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, बट वी हैव टू टॉक अबाउट what is the larger scheme of things, and in that also we are taking a very good scenario, because if a book is sold, it would be an Amazon bestseller throughout. The author would have been called to various literary festivals, would have spoken this, that. So I always tell people that write books for the love of literature, write books for acknowledgement, write books for appreciation, write books for personal branding, and the fact that you want to tell stories. Money नहीं है. मनी नहीं, पब्लिशर के लिए भी नहीं है मनी. ऑनेस्टली पब्लिशर के लिए भी मनी नहीं है. पीपल थिंक दैट वो पब्लिशर इज मेकिंग अ लॉट, बट इफ आई वाज टू गिव अ ब्रेकडाउन राइट नाउ, यू विल रियलाइज दैट अ पब्लिशर इज नॉट मेकिंग मोर देन 19-20 rupees on say a book. Let's break that up also. Say a book is priced at 299. Okay, the publisher is giving 10% royalty. So बाद में आएंगे हम कि ऑथर को 30 रुपीज मिल रहे हैं, बट अब मान लीजिए उस बुक की प्रिंट कॉस्ट है से 80 रुपीज, टेक्निकली 80 रुपीज. नाउ द ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म will charge a listing fee, will charge a warehousing fee, will charge a delivery fee. But let's come to that also later. 80 rupees was the cost. They will incur some cost for typesetting, they'll incur some cost for cover designing.
Yeah.
So 100 rupees मान लीजिए, 100 rupees हो गया ये मिल के. अब certain portals used to charge delivery fees from the customer earlier. Now you would have seen that most of it is not happening, or if you've taken a particular membership, it's not happening. It's not happening for the customer. It is still happening for the seller. A base price is anywhere around, or an average price is around 110 rupees that the publisher has to pay. So if the warehouse is in Delhi, but the book is going to Tamil Nadu, 110 rupees gone. Then to list the book, they will charge around 40 rupees. 110 plus 40, 150. 100 पहले था 250, 30 रुपीज आपको ऑथर को देने थे उसमें से 280, 19 रुपीज बनाए पब्लिशर ने. सो that is the math. So people think that this is this, but that is the game. So
it's a passion project for everybody.
It has to be passion. You can earn money, but you can earn money through subsidiary rights. So if you do some good work, maybe a producer calls you and asks you to write something for them, which is again what Mr. Bhagat was doing in the interim.
Yeah.
Or if you're able to sell your book's rights, you will get something. Maybe you can't make a living out of it, but it'll give you good money for that particular year to have a couple of nice holidays, and maybe even buy a vehicle or something like that. So वो हो जाता है. But yeah, I mean these are the struggles and these are the harsh realities. So I think we just have to
नौकरी करनी पड़ेगी.
नौकरी करनी पड़ेगी. मतलब करनी पड़ेगी तो नहीं, करनी चाहिए. इनफैक्ट आज ही का मैं आपको एक इंसिडेंट बताता हूँ. It's so amazing that most of the incidents that I'm recounting have happened today.
Today only. Interesting.
So today morning I was having a chat with a lady who had reached out to me. She was from the medical field, and she said that, Suhail, I'd done this book earlier, but now I want to go deep into it and I'll market and promote. So I've left my job and now I will promote. So I said that, look, I must tell you, job मत छोड़िए आप अपनी, because there is no money in the trade. So she said, well, actually I come from a privileged background, so I can do it. I said, चलो फिर ठीक है भाई, फिर ठीक है, कर लो आप. So she was also honest, I was also honest, and we were able to figure out that that's okay. So yeah, do it for the passion, and if you need any help, any assistance, please reach out to thebookbakers@gmail.com.
I'm going to just put that in the description also.
THEBOOKBAKERS.
I'll put your name and everything.
Or you can reach out to Shuchi, and Shuchi, being the kind and lovely lady that she is, she will definitely connect you with us. So we'll definitely be happy to look at anything and everything that you've written, and should it resonate with us, which is also very important.
Yeah.
I think one thing that people ask is, how do you select a book?
I wanted to ask that, but you were just closing the whole episode.
Okay. So yeah, I figured that out, so I thought I must help you.
कोई बात नहीं, आप पहले वो आंसर करके फिर आप ही क्लोज कर देना.
ठीक है, बिल्कुल. So ये podcast अब मैं
host कर रहा हूँ. He has hijacked it. Yes.
I've hijacked it.
Feel free.
Okay. So which reminds me, there were two people you had asked me, no? So I'll not disappoint you. So there was this, people were sitting in a plane, and there was this burly guy. He got up and he said, "Hi, Jack." Everyone got scared. And there was this guy sitting on the other side, and he turned and he said, "Hi, John." So,
I was waiting for that.
So she had told me that I have to crack one of those dad jokes that she calls as dad jokes. So I had to,
because I see them on Facebook all the time. It's like, such a dad joke this is.
Well, as long as it's not a bad joke, it's all right.
It's a dad joke.
Yes. So where were we? Yeah, so we were discussing what do you
look
parameters?
For? Yes.
So I think it has to resonate with us. The story has to resonate. So if it resonates with me, I will take it up irrespective of what the market is thinking.
Resonate मतलब क्या?
अच्छी लगनी चाहिए. The story should be good. The story predominantly should be good. See, the writing can be worked on. If it's not in a proper space, you can get an editor, you can work with that person, you can correct it. But now the book has been written, so the story is the genesis of all of it. So if I don't like it, or if I feel the story isn't up to the mark, then I'm not the right person to take it up, because I'll not do justice. I'll not do justice with it.
True.
So that is one. The second thing is that word counts also play a very important role.
अच्छा.
So, technically, for everyone who's watching this and has stayed on till the end, yeah, 40,000, anything above 40,000 is a full length book, starting point of a full length book. Anything below 40,000 is a novella. 40 to 60,000 is a good range to be in. For fiction books, these days, publishers are open up to 70, 75,000. See, 40 to 60 for romance and all. Thrillers, you get a leeway for 10,000 words more, so 70. Historical, mythologicals, you get 5%, 5,000, 10,000 more, so 75, 80,000. If you're doing a non-fiction, 1 lakh is the upper limit. But you know, there are people who write to me. There was this one person who wrote to me saying that I've done a book and the word count was 3,23,000.
Hi.
So I was like, okay, so in essence, it is now 3,23,000 is almost, you know, above 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
So if it is above 1,000 pages, it's going to be priced at $9.99 or something. So who's going to buy it? While there have been people who've reached out to me and said that I've written this book of 3,000 words. 3,000 words. उससे बड़ी तो कई बार short story होती है, individual short story. So then I tell them that maybe release it as a pocket book or just go on Kindle and do it online, because you know a book has to have around apparently 80 pages for it to be in a bound form.
Yeah.
If it's lesser than that, then it is stapled because spine nahi banti uski. Then what publishers will do is that then they will reduce the size. They'll bring it out as a pocket book. That's one. Or they will do a hard bound so that there is spine. Why a lot of these books why novellas don't go to stores is because they get sandwiched between 2 books of 300 pages each. So मैंने इधर रखी पतली किताब और 2 इधर मोटी बुक्स हैं sandwiched, पता ही नहीं लगा. So author की सेल नहीं हुई, publisher की branding नहीं हो पाई because इतनी पतली है तो लोगों को कहीं दिखाई नहीं. So the publisher doesn't want to keep it. The store guy says that, look, I am giving space, but I'm not getting any revenue out of it. So, no. So, those are the mechanisms on which it works. So, it has to resonate with us. If I like the story, if I like the concept, in a non-fiction, if I like the concept, I'm happy to take it forward. And if the word count is low, I always tell them, add something more, reach out to me. If the word count is high, then I tell them that, do this. Another one more thing that I must tell you before you finish, and that's related to fiction, because you write fiction. Predominantly write about Indian characters or Indian characters in international settings or international characters in Indian settings. So you have 3 options: Indian characters in Indian settings, Indian characters in international settings, or international characters in Indian settings. Those 3. Something of that sort has to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't work. There was an author of mine and we had worked with her with a major publisher, big publisher, and she was now doing another book. And that book was about an international detective who was solving a crime in another international country. So the previous publisher said that, Suhail, the book is great, but it doesn't have anything to do with India. So why would a reader in India want to buy it? And we were able to get another publisher for it, did well. But that was something that made sense. So sometimes people may ask that, okay, by that logic, Suhail, you mentioned that people are reading John Green, Khaled Hosseini, J.K. Rowling. They don't have anything related to India, but why are the Indian readers reading that? So the answer to that is that those books have reached India because those books were highly successful in their original countries where those books were published. And those names were indigenous to where these authors belong to. So the books did well. So if a book in India does well and a publisher has world rights, and they do take it up to, say, someone may take it for a Frankfurt book fair. Just a couple of days later, a literary agency from England reached out to us looking at a possible collaboration. So that is something that we would like to explore. I mean, how it works is something that we're seeing, but because the work that we're doing, international agencies are connecting with us to collaborate. I think that's a sign that, you know, the West has also realized that
Indian literature is here to stay.
US has realized that. UK, of course, has been realizing it since a long time, that India is the...
I think this entire... this conversation is going to be very useful, since everybody and their neighbors want to become authors these days.
And that is precisely why I mentioned this at the end of the conversation, so that you stick on.
Pura dekhna padega.
Pura dekhna padega. And I think she's going to edit it brilliantly. That, you know,
so this will come in the beginning.
All these chunks will come that...
Yeah.
Ye hai. and then we come to the end. So,
Do you
yeah.
want to close it? Do the honors, please.
Oh, all right, guys. So I hope you had a great time because I certainly did, and I think each and every guest of Shuchi will have a great time because she is a lovely author, she's a lovely person, and she's a fabulous host. And she has this fabulous setup. I think she's doing something which is very commendable, calling people from different walks of life, talking about different things, and empowering their ideologies, reaching out to other people. So kudos to Shuchi. Shuchi, continue the wonderful work that you're doing. And till then, we'll see you with a brand new episode next week with another very famous personality. I'll not be there, but Shuchi will, which is reason enough for you to tune in. So please do so. And this is Suhail Mathur signing off. Cheers.